All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
And welcome back to the X Zone, everyone. I am Rob McConnell, and for the next 4 hours, I'm your host and your guide as together we cross the time-space continuum to this place that I call the X Zone. It's a place where people dare to believe and dare to be heard. It's a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. And the X Zone comes to you Monday through Friday from 10 p.m. Eastern until 2 a.m. Eastern, and on Saturday and Sunday at various times, right here on the X Zone Broadcast Network, Talkstar Radio Network, Mutual Broadcast Network, iHeartRadio, Xena FM, and they're just some of the affiliates and networks that carry the X Zone radio and TV show, and of course, our good friends at Simul TV and Simul Radio. Now, before I get to our first guest this hour, just a reminder, this coming Thursday, the X Zone TV show premieres on Cable 14 here in Ontario. Valentine's night, February the 14th at 11 o'clock Eastern. And then every Tuesday and Thursday after that, Tuesday nights at 9:30, Thursday nights at 11 o'clock. Don't forget, we're also going to be on Comcast, iLaunch, and in India on the Times Radio Network. Wow, things are happening here in the X Zone thanks to you. This is an overnight success story that has taken us nearly 30 years to get here. So once again, thank you for all the support and all the great guests that we've had over the years. Exonation, my guest this hour is Gary Foutz, and we've had the pleasure of having Gary on the show before. But for those of you who weren't with us the last time Gary was on, let me tell you a little bit about Gary. Gary has been in the paranormal field for about 25 years now. He studied UFOs, cryptozoology, and the paranormal and paranormal activity. His group's name is Unsolved Mysteries and Paranormal Society, but will soon be changed to Unsolved Mysteries and Unknown Sightings. Gary is from Roanoke, Virginia, near the Blue Ridge Mountains. He had to retire because of 11 back surgeries, but with his group's help, they still try to do as much research as possible to come up with an answer to these sightings and these experiences. Gary feels that there are things out there that are not unknown, but it'll take a lot to ever get the evidence to satisfy hard-nosed scientists. Now, if you'd like to find out more about Gary, just go on to Facebook and Google his name, Gary Foutz, and that's G-A-R-Y-F-O-U-T-Z. Joining me now from Roanoke, Virginia, is Gary. And Gary, welcome back to the X Zone. Long time no talk.
I know, Rob. It's good to be back.
11 back surgeries. Wow.
Well, actually, it's 12 now. I had the last one in October of last year, and then in December I had knee surgery. So I think they're trying to make a road map out of it.
But the question is, where do those roads lead to? Do they lead to...
Yes, exactly right.
Exactly.
Well,
Gary, what was it that brought you into the world of the paranormal and the investigations that you've conducted and the research that you continue to do today?
Well, actually, I got involved when I was about 12 or 13 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And I would get my hands on books of about the Yeti, that was the big thing out at the time then. And then, of course, there was the UFOs, Roswell. And, it just was intriguing to read and study about it. And then I just, later on in years, I started up my own investigation thing, and I've been doing it since.
Is the investigation into the paranormal, as well as all aspects of it, still as popular as it was the years gone by?
Oh, it's more popular now. I mean, you have thousands upon thousands of groups.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just like here in Virginia, we have lots of groups. We have lots of people who are out there looking for Bigfoot
Mm-hmm.
or Sasquatch, whatever you want to call him.
Right.
I think that it's gotten huge, especially with the TV shows when like Ghost Hunters first come on, and then you had the other show. I forget what the name of that was, but it's just grown in popularity, and now you have people that's making all kinds of equipment.
Mm-hmm.
They're selling it, and it's pretty expensive. But yeah, I mean, it's just, you wouldn't believe the groups that's around here. And so most of them, they don't do what we do, because they do like one thing and we do three things. So we kind of, beef up the investigation a little better. If we get tired doing the paranormal, if we get an investigation doing a sighting of a cryptid or maybe a UFO, we'll go out and we'll investigate that.
Now, when you say all these groups, I know there are many more groups than the last time you and I talked, but it seems that nothing has changed when it comes to what is Bigfoot?
It has.
What is a ghost? What's changed?
I don't know what's going on. I've seen so many fake tapes. I saw one last night,
Mm-hmm.
And it was a guy in a suit. And it was so many red flags thrown up that
Right.
I don't see how I even got that far with it.
Hmm.
And there's I've talked to some people.
Yes.
I got one of my Bigfoot hunters in Virginia. No, he's not in Virginia. But he's a Bigfoot enthusiast and goes out, and he claims that he has seen them. He knows, a little bit about them. And then there was another guy here in Virginia. He does a lot, and he claims the same thing. Now, I'm 66 years old, and I've been in the woods since I was big enough to be in the woods, and I have yet to see one. So I don't know if they're spread apart more widely than was thought. There's, not that many reports
Mm-hmm.
of a Sasquatch sighting in Virginia. I think the last one that BFRO had was in Lynchburg, Virginia, which is about 50 miles from here. And it was a lady coming down the road, and she saw a Sasquatch, I guess, female holding a infant. And so I think they went around and did some checking and investigation on that, but they couldn't come up with anything.
Hmm.
So I don't know. I don't know what to think. I mean, there's we had an investigation in Roanoke County on one of the mountains up here, and the gentleman told me that there was a huge bird up there that was standing on its feet holding a guinea hen in its mouth. And I'm sitting here listening to him when he's telling me this, and so I said, okay, we'll come up there. And the only thing that I could come up with was a bird that from prehistoric age.
Like a pterodactyl.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
pterodactyl,
Mm-hmm.
exactly. Because the way he was describing it, it was just unreal. And so we went up there. We went up and did a reconnaissance type of a search during the day, and then we did one at night. And I didn't hear anything any more different than what I did when I was a kid.
Wow.
So I don't know what to tell you except that these people have this claims to have seen them. The thing that gets me about it is that, number one, every time you see something come out with a video, you can't hardly see what it is. The video is awful. Some people take pictures and they're awful. They're blurry.
Yeah.
The video's blurry. The pictures are blurry. I have yet to see a really good one, except for the Patterson film was probably the best one. And there's still people that doesn't believe in that one. And actually, it's going to take a little bit more proof to make me believe it too, because it almost looks like a man in a suit walking through there. So I don't know.
All right, Gary, stand by. You and I have to take our commercial break. We'll be back on the other side of the break, which is about 2-3 minutes. So stand by, my friend. Exonation, our guest this hour is Gary Foutz. And if you'd like to find out more about Gary and the work he does, go to Facebook and just search his name. And le voilà, as they say in Quebec. There it is. This is the X-Zone. I am Rob McConnell. We're coming to you from our broadcast center and studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. This is a place where people dare to believe and dare to be heard. A place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. We'll be back on the other side of this break. Don't go away.
I walk along the city streets you used to walk along with me. And every step I take reminds me of just how we used to be. Oh, how can I forget you, girl? And there is always something there. Night was dark in the mountains, as the story goes. An Indian tale brought 'em out where only the Sasquatch goes. The moon was playing hide and seek, made the shadows come and go, looking for something they thought they'd find on the Ferny Creek Forest Road. The stories they didn't.
Exonation, our guest this hour is Gary Foutz. And Gary, why do you think that with all the modern day great technology that we have, everyone has a high definition camera in their cell phone, as well as, you know, the small compact video systems, that these trackers and the people who actually go out and look for Bigfoot, ghosts, UFOs, and everything else, why don't you think that all conclusive proof photo has yet to be taken?
That's a good question. I carry my camera everywhere I go. I don't like using a cell phone. I hate the cameras on a cell phone. But I carry a small Sony video recorder with me, and I can just flip the door open and it turns right on, and I can get a good clear video of whatever I'm trying to get. Cell phones, I think they just sometimes the pictures look just awful on them. And why, you know, that's the big question, is when you see something on, like you go on YouTube,
Right.
and you look around, every video that you see is usually, it's got a blurry look to it. And then when you talk about, and when you get into UFOs, sometimes you can get some pretty good shots. And then people, I think a lot of times they want to zoom in on it too far, and it gets blurry in all kinds of ways, and then, you know, they just have to back out because the camera's only going to do so much. And if you do have a camera with digital zoom and analog, I think the other one was called analog, it's better to put it on analog than it is digital. So, but I've seen one UFO in my life.
Tell us about that.
And then I was actually on Smith Mountain Lake. It's a beautiful lake down here from us, and I was out one night with a friend. We was fishing, night fishing on a boat.
Mm-hmm.
And at that time, I did not know how to swim. But I had my life preserver on. But after I saw what I saw, I was going to learn to swim. Because I come close to jumping out of the boat. I heard this hum. I kept hearing this hum. And of course, I was looking in front of the bow of the boat, and I turned around and I looked into the air, and here's this. It looked like a huge ball. It was going around in rotation so fast that it wasn't even funny. I mean, it was just the weirdest thing I'd ever seen in my life. Now, being in weather, I know what a lightning ball is. I know those type of things, but this thing was not moving. It was sitting steady in the sky. It wasn't a comet. Not a comet, but a meteorite. It wasn't any of this stuff. I mean, it looked like it might have been about 400 or 500 feet off of the lake, and it almost would hypnotize you just sitting there looking at it. Because I mean, when you haven't seen anything like that before in your life, you just can't keep your eyes off of it. Just as soon as we saw it, you could have batted an eyelash, and that's how fast it was gone. I mean, when it left and went back up into the sky, it left a small trail of a tail with it. And after that, it took me all night to get over that. And then we was, about 2 hours later, we saw a boat coming up the cove, and then it stopped, and we thought it was somebody down there fishing. As we was getting ready to leave, we came down through there,
Mm-hmm.
and there was nobody in the boat. And I'm like, okay, I've seen a UFO, now I'm seeing a boat with nobody in it come up into the cove. It had its running lights on and everything. And that boat was empty. We looked around in the water to see if anybody had fell out. And I told my friend I was with, I said, I think it's really time to just put this thing in high gear and let's get out of here.
Now, since that time, have you seen other UFOs?
My brother and I, we did see one night. It was late in the evening. The sun had gone down, but it was just enough light where you could see something just perfectly. And at that time, I didn't have a camera. And we saw this object, and it was just sitting there. I kind of mistaken it as a star or maybe one of the planets. And then it started moving. And then it was making some erratic moves. It'd go forward, then it would stop, then it would go sideways, stop.
Mm-hmm.
And then when it took off again, it was just like a bat of your eye, and it was gone. And so, when you see something like that, it's hard to explain. I don't think the military has anything like that. Of course, right now, they liable to have anything. There was just a UFO sighting. I think it was maybe 3 years ago. These guys were shooting a movie out in Utah, and it's the most amazing footage I think I've ever seen. And they had a drone up in the air, and this thing, you can see it coming down the mountain ridge, and it makes a turn, and it's sideways. And when it made that turn and it straightened up, it took 1 second to get from that mountain ridge past them. That thing was flying. I mean, they said they estimated the speed of around 9,000 miles an hour. Now that is Holland.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, it's probably one of the best footages of a UFO I think I've ever seen. The trouble about it is where they thought it wasn't but 2 hours from Area 51. So there you go. You never know what's going to happen or what they have. And as far as the military goes, if the military's got it,
Mm-hmm.
then I'm all for it.
Well, of course.
I was in the military, so, you know, I support them. Did get in, we remember one of the shows I was on with you about the UFO sightings. I investigated up in Westfield, Virginia, and that almost got me killed.
Really?
But oh yeah, we went up there a number of times, talked to a witness that he was actually a radio announcer then, and he kept giving us information about this, that, and the other, and finally they really something happened. I don't know exactly what it was, something that I guess we'll never know about. But his son was at a party, and two men in suits come up knocking on the door and asking for him. And when he come to the door, they shot him point blank in the head.
They shot who?
They shot the radio announcer's son.
Why would?
Actually,
Why?
well, at the time when he was investigating this stuff, he had opened up the radio show one night and let people call in to tell their experience, and it was like around 3,000 people that saw these things. So he opened up the radio show, and people would call in, and then he started getting calls from this, that, and the other, you know, that wouldn't give their name and just told him to, you know, lay off. I think it was a colonel that called him one time, and he was supposed to go to Virginia Beach, make a speech, and they told him not to go, but he went anyway. So it got so stressful for him. One night he thought he was having a heart attack, and his wife took him to the emergency room, and they said it was stress because they broke in his house, stole film cameras and everything.
Well, stand by, my friend. We've got to take our news break. When we come back, let's talk about this more, because I've been doing this show 30 years. Nothing like that has ever happened to me or anybody else that I know that is credible within this industry. I've heard of no, we've got to take our break. So when we come back,
you go ahead.
All right, we'll continue this very interesting conversation, and we'll get into it deeper. This is the X Zone. I am Rob McConnell, and we're coming to you from our broadcast center and studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. My guest this hour is Gary Foutz. Don't go away.
On my feet, you know that ghost is me, and I will never be set free as long as I'm a ghost you can't see. If I could read your mind, love, what a tale your thoughts could.
And welcome back, everyone. This is the X Zone. I am Rob McConnell. and we're coming to you from our broadcast center and studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. If you would like to send me an email, same email that we've had for 30 years, xzone at xzoneradiotv.com, on all social media sites, Xzone Radio TV. And to find out about the programming that we have available for you, 724, 365 on the Xzone Broadcast Network, visit www.xzbn.net. Gary Foutz is our special guest this hour. And Gary, let's talk more about this strange, bizarre story where somebody who was a radio announcer didn't comply with something that, or didn't comply with the instructions he was giving from allegedly the material. He's at a party one night, and two men come to his door dressed in suits, open the door. The son opens the door, asks for the father. Son tells the father, the military or whoever these are in the suits, that he's not there, and he's shot in point-blank range. Have I got that right?
Yeah, he was, actually his son was at a party, another guy's, I guess one of his friends.
Oh, I see. The son was at the party.
No, it's fine. It's fine. They had broken his house a couple of times. Then when they shot his son, he did live through it. I mean, he actually, it's been about 8 years maybe now. I think he passed away, but he they never caught anybody. They never actually found out who it was that did it.
Well, if this guy was on the radio, why can't we know his name?
Well, his name is Danny Gordon.
Danny Gordon?
And I haven't talked to him in about 8 years because of the little incident that myself and my investigator went through.
What happened with you and your investigator? Well,
what we did, we went up there and we had a meeting with Danny, we went up there to just one of the little restaurants up there in the town where he works.
Uh-huh.
And so when we left, we told him we was going to head up, I think it was Route 21 or 27 that goes from there to Independence, Virginia. But you have to go over a mountain, I think, to get to Independence. And so we was headed that way. And my investigator, I was sitting over in the passenger seat. He says, "We're being followed." And I said, "What do you mean we're being followed?" He said, "Well, look behind you." And in my book, it was a black SUV. That the windows were tinted really, really black. I mean, you couldn't even see through it. In Virginia, it's a law, a state law, that you can't have your windows that tinted.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that kind of threw up a red flag. I said, "Well, I tell you what, if you think we're getting followed, the next store that comes up, just pull in, and I'll go in and get us something, get us something to drink, and then we'll see what he does." And sure enough, a little store came up. We pulled in. He pulled in behind us, and then he went down about 2 cars down from us and parked. And I went in the store and come back out. I kind of glanced over, and I said, "Yep, he's there." And so I got back in the car, and we backed out, got back on the road again, and he was right behind us again. I said, "We got a problem." So I knew then we had a big problem. And I said, "Okay, let's do this. Before we get over the mountain or start up the mountain, let's stop one more time just to see if we're just, being freaked out about something that we shouldn't be worried about, or maybe we should." And there was a little mom-and-pop restaurant down there. I forget the name of that little town. But we stopped in there, and sure enough, that SUV pulled right in, just like he did at the store.
Well, let me ask you this: were you afraid?
Well, the first time I wasn't. The second time when we pulled into that restaurant, yeah, I was getting a little scared because it's just not normal for somebody to pull in like that.
Yeah.
and you know, kind of follow you and not get out. That's the problem. They didn't get out, whoever it was. And so we went in and we got us ordered us some lunch.
Right.
And I told Rick, I said, man, we're in trouble. I said, he's sitting out there, or whoever it is sitting out there. I said, this is what we're going to do. If we pull out, and he gets in behind us again, then what I want to do is I want you to slam the brakes on or pull in somebody's yard. I don't care what you do, but let's head back towards Whitfield. He said, okay. And so we got out after we got in the car. We pulled out. The SUV pulled out. He was behind us again. I said, okay, we're in trouble. I just knew. I've never had a feeling like I had.
Can I ask you? Can I ask you a question? Why didn't you call the police?
Well,
why not?
You sort of. Well, it's a long story.
Well, we've got a bit of time. I want to know if you are in fear of, if you're afraid, or if you feel that your safety is at risk, you're being followed. Why you wouldn't call the police? What were you guys doing wait a sec. What were you guys doing that you didn't want to have the police involved?
Well, what we was worried about, because of the times that we had talked to Danny about, I had this feeling that the military was in all of this to begin with. It was kind of like funny how the investigation went with his son. It was like, okay, we're going to investigate it, and then, okay, we can't find nobody. And, you know, it's one of them scenarios like you're in a twilight zone. If you call the police, is the police in on it? You know, that's the kind of feeling that we had.
Well, okay, but you could have called the state police if you thought the municipal police or local police were involved. You could have called the state police.
We could have. I think we were way too far out of the way at the time for the state police to even get there to do anything.
Well, why didn't you why didn't you guys get into your vehicle and drive towards the state police barracks?
Well, see, we're not that familiar with the area. I don't even know where the state police headquarters. I know there's one right up the street up here where I live.
Yeah, but did you have a cell phone with you? Did you have a cell phone?
Go ahead.
Did you have a cell phone with you?
No, I did not.
All right, but there were.
And Rick had one, but it wouldn't get out where we was at.
Okay.
At that time.
But what about stopping at a phone booth and dialing 0 or 911?
Oh yeah, we could have done that. I thought at the time that, hey, if we can just get out of here and get back to Whitfield, I think we'll be okay. But something, you know, long before that, I didn't have that feeling. I mean, when the first UFOs were spotted up there and everything, I said, oh, this is cool. You know, maybe it's something from another planet. And then as it went on and as things started happening, I said, somebody don't want somebody to know something. I mean, there's more people involved in this than what meets the eye. And the men in black, I never saw them, but Danny saw them.
It sounds like this Danny had a very. It sounds like this Danny had a very vivid imagination.
Well, I tell you, it was he had when they broke in his house, they stole his camera and some film, and then there was two guys posing as newspaper reporters from the Richmond Times-Dispatch, and they told him they wanted to do a story on it. He invited them into his house, and one of them, I guess, snuck away while they were talking and went up there and stole more film. And he called the Richmond Times-Dispatch, and they said they didn't send anybody up there. So when you go up into that little town, there's a lot of people that won't even talk about it. I mean, it's just like, you know, something has said, or somebody has said, you shut up about it, you don't tell anybody about it. And I really and truly think that this was a military thing. If nothing's going to really change my mind about it, I don't think it was a little green men from Mars or anything. I think this has something to do with the military.
All
Now,
right,
whether
stand by.
it
We've
has
got to
something do
take.
with the
We have to take our final break. X-Zone Nation,
Okay.
we'll come back on the other side of this break as we continue here in the X-Zone from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Are you a skeptic or are you a believer? Send me an email, xzone@xzoneradiotv.com. I'm Rob McConnell. Don't go away.
Walks further down the street with the brim pulled way down low. Ain't no sound but the sound of his feet. Machine guns ready to go. Are you ready? Hey, are you ready for this? Are you hanging on the edge of your seat? Out of the doorway, the bullets rip to the sound of the beat. Yeah. Another one bites the dust. Another one bites the dust.
Welcome back, everyone. Our guest this hour is Gary Foutz, and we're talking about Danny Gordon, who was or still is a radio announcer at WYVE in Virginia. He had an interest in UFOs. Is he still around these days?
You know, I haven't talked to him in a while. We kind of laid back, actually for about 8 years now.
Oh, yeah.
We've laid back since that incident because I didn't want him to have to go through all the mess that he went through again, and especially his family. He went through enough as it was, and you know, I don't know if anybody else up there. There was nothing ever told me that anybody else had to go through what he did, except for myself, and of course, we was going to set up some infrared cameras and some night vision cameras, actually in a middle of a cow field, on that same road that we was on, and try to place them in different directions, and see if anything were to come through there. And we never did do it. We never went back to do it. And it became something that, hey, this is cool, to something, hey, this is not cool.
So when do you think the military started following you, or show interest in what you were doing?
Well, they apparently, like I said, I don't know if it was military or not, but I'm pretty sure deep down in me that they have something to do with what's going on. And I guess that my thinking was, just to give you an example of what we used to run into before all this happened. We would go up there and come back. One day we came back down through there, and I'm going to tell you, there was hundreds of blackbirds on the side of the road dead for no reason. And I'm like, okay, what's this about? And I was told not too long ago that there was still some sightings of UFOs up in that area. I don't know. I don't know of any bases up there. I do know that it's possibly could be a base inside of one of the mountains, because we have a lot of mountains here. And but I don't think that that they would use that area for what, like what people think they do at Area 51. I just don't know. It's a big mystery that it may not ever be solved. I had brought it up again one of our meetings, and I just feel uneasy about even doing it again. But we're thinking about it. Just going up there and just go up that same road and see what we can come up with, or whatever. It may be nothing going on, but then again, I don't know. It just gives you a creepy feeling when something like that happens, and especially all the stuff that happened to him. You just, you won't leave it alone.
Yeah, but I got to tell you something. I still don't understand why, if you were afraid you were being followed, you just didn't call the police.
Well, it's time. This is what was told to me. At the time that all this happened to his son, there was no. It was like how you watch a TV show and the cops are into whatever's going on. So this is sort of what was told to me, that they made that the authorities didn't push the matter to try to get it solved. And apparently whoever that was was telling them, hey, lay off of it. And then when we was getting ready to go up that mountain, the more I thought about it, I think it really hit me at the last place we stopped. And I told Rick, I looked at him and I said, man, we ain't going to make it over that mountain. Because I really think they were waiting for us to go up the mountain. And that's a big, it's not a big mountain, but it's not a little one either. I really think they had some intentions to harm us.
But once again,
if we,
you see, look, if you felt that your life was in danger now, and you didn't call the police, that raises red flags for me. Something's not being told in this whole story. Something is missing here, because you know what? I'm an ex-cop.
Yeah, right.
And something doesn't sound right. It just doesn't sit right.
Well, we haven't actually. We was going to go into the police department at one time and talk to them about all the stuff that went on, and we never did. And but it was just this feeling of if. And now Rick, he had mentioned something about calling the police, and I said, but by the time the police would have gotten there, they've probably been gone by then. I don't know. I just don't know what. If I knew who was in that black SUV is one thing, but not seeing who it is, or if did you have a radio? It's possible. It's very possible that they would know somebody's going to come down and check them out. I don't think they were that stupid. I really don't.
Okay, now you said that when you pulled into the restaurant, to see if you were being followed, the black SUV with the tinted glass passed you by and parked 2 cars ahead, right?
No, he stayed behind us.
Oh, he stayed behind.
When we pulled into the last place,
gotcha.
which would have been the restaurant,
right?
He pulled in behind us, but he was like 2 or 3 cars up from us in the parking lot.
So there's no way you could have gotten his license number?
No. I would have had to go physically up there to do it, and at that time, I just didn't feel comfortable doing that. So we went in, and and Rick and I talked about it, and, I told him, I said, look, I don't think we're going to make it over that mountain, and this just don't feel right. It just didn't feel good at all.
So did you guys turn around and go home?
Yes, he slammed on the brakes, went in somebody's driveway, I don't know who it was, really didn't care at the time, and we headed back towards Whitfield, and they had slowed down and stopped when they saw us heading back, and they didn't. They just went on. Now they didn't. They never went and come back behind us on the way back to Whitfield or anything. And we had talked to some folks on down the road there a piece, but that was way before all this happened. And they claimed that they had seen UFOs in that area. So, it's still a big mystery. I can't explain it.
Yeah.
I know that whatever is going on, or whatever was going on at the time, they were serious about it. And Danny and his friend, he passed away, but Danny and his friend, they wrote a book about it. It's called Don't Look Up. I don't know if you can get a copy of it or not. Danny, he gave me a copy because we were friends and everything. And I don't know. It's an interesting book, but I don't know if he still could make copies. But I think he should, because that was one weird case of a UFO sighting that I've ever heard of. I've been in this a long time, and people see them UFO, or they claim to see a UFO land or go over the top of their house or cross the interstate.
Mm-hmm.
But I've never seen one this bad. So I don't know. At that time, I didn't want to get Rick killed.
Yeah.
And I sure didn't want to get it.
All right, Gary, I hate to do this, but we've run out of time for tonight. I want to thank you very much for joining us. A very strange and weird story. Somebody's following you in a black van. You can't see into their windows. You're afraid for your life, and yet you don't call the cops. The story doesn't make sense, X-Zone Nation. There are so many red flags in the entire story that, well, you know what? Just listen to this. Another one bit the dust here in the X-Zone. I'll be back on the other side of this break. Don't go away.
Let's go! He walks further down the street with the brim pulled way down low. Ain't no sound but the sound of his feet. Machine guns ready.